I still remember the silence. The pain wasn't just physical. It sat deeper, settled in the bones like a cold wind that wouldn't leave. The kind of pain only a loss you never held in your arms can bring. When I came home from the hospital, everything felt misplaced. The flowers on the table were dying. The couch, once soft, now looked stiff. But then she arrived, and for a brief moment, everything almost felt human again. My sister walked through the front door with red eyes. She didn't say anything at first. She just pulled me into her arms. "You shouldn't have gone through this alone," she whispered. That hug broke me. I cried harder in her arms than I had on the stretcher. It was my sister, my safe place since we were kids, hiding under the bed when our parents fought. She stayed for hours. Made tea, washed the dishes I'd been ignoring. She tucked me into bed with a cold towel on my forehead and cracked the window open, just how I liked it. When I woke up, she was gone. And for the first time in days, I picked up my phone. Among the missed calls and unread messages, there was a missed call from my husband, and a calendar notification reminding us of our fertility checkup today. Irony, I guess. I ignored it, but one notification pulled at something inside me. A tagged photo on Instagram. My sister had just been tagged. It was a selfie, in his car, taken from the passenger seat. And there, in the rearview mirror, I could see his sweatshirt, the same one I gave him for our second anniversary. On the seat next to her, his keychain, the one I kept forgetting to return. My heart thudded, but I told myself it was just a coincidence. She probably borrowed the car. Or maybe he picked her up. But deep down, something cracked. Not yet jealousy, just dissonance. And if you've ever felt that, when the ground still holds but your instincts scream, it's a feeling you don't forget. If stories like this hit close, hit like or subscribe. Sometimes, hearing someone else's story helps us understand our own. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept rerunning memories, of them laughing at dinner, her sleeping over when he was working late. The way they hugged goodbye, her lipstick on cups I didn't recognize. I couldn't shake it. The next morning when he left for work, I stepped outside and grabbed the spare car key. It was still hidden in the potted plant like always. I opened the driver's door, sat down, closed my eyes. It's just your mind, I told myself. You're grieving. You're fragile. But then I saw it. Something glinting in the center console, half hidden like a secret. Her necklace. A silver chain with a moon and star pendant, the one she always wore when she felt down. She used to say, "It keeps me grounded when things get heavy." And now it was in his car. I sat there for a long time holding it like it might burn me. It was just a necklace. Just metal and memory. But we both know when it's not just a necklace. I went back inside, locked the door, curled up on the couch, and let the silence grow teeth. For 2 days I said nothing. I went through the motions, coffee in the morning, nodding at emails, smiling when I had to. My husband didn't notice anything. Or maybe he did and was just good at pretending. I couldn't tell anymore. What haunted me most wasn't the necklace itself. It was how familiar it looked in his car. Like it had always been there. Like she had always been there. I stared at the photos from that Instagram post over and over. Her hand resting on the console. His keychain next to her phone. And then I noticed something I hadn't before. Her reflection in the window, smiling. But not at the camera. At him. I kept it to myself. No screaming. No confronting. I just watched. That weekend we had dinner with my family. A quiet backyard evening, grilled food, cheap wine, fairy lights tangled in trees. I hadn't seen her since the hospital. She hugged me again, but it felt different. She held on a little too long. Or maybe I pulled away too fast. "You look better," she said, pouring me wine. "I was really worried about you." I nodded. "I'm healing." I watched her laugh with him across the yard. They weren't touching, not obviously. But the way their eyes met, too long, too easy, it was like I wasn't even there. After everyone left, I sat at the kitchen table alone. I opened her messages. Nothing. But something about it felt too clean. Too perfect. Too scrub. I remembered once she told me she never deleted texts. My memory's trash, I need receipts. So why was there nothing there? I started going through my husband's old phone. He had it stored in the office drawer, said it was too slow. I charged it overnight. And when it finally powered on the next morning, I wasn't prepared. There were no messages from her. But there was a folder in his camera roll. Hidden. Tucked inside a travel folder labeled July. Photos of the beach. Photos of sunsets. Photos of her. In one, she's wearing the necklace. She's standing in his hoodie. And behind her, barely visible, the reflection of him in the mirror of the hotel room. I don't remember crying. I remember going cold. I remember my fingers trembling as I held the phone. But I didn't cry. I just kept scrolling. Frame after frame. Smile after smile. He had taken her away. While I was bleeding in a hospital bed, he was taking sunset photos of my sister on the beach. I copied everything to my own phone. Every image. Every video. I watched one clip on loop. She's laughing, brushing her hair from her face, and he says from behind the camera, "God, you look beautiful." She blushes. And then whispers, "Now we're free." I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling, the phone pressed to my chest like a secret too sharp to hold. Every breath I took felt heavier than the last. Not because of the betrayal, but because it came from her. My sister. The girl who used to braid my hair before school. The one who stood by me at my wedding, smiling as I vowed to love a man she was already holding in secret. By morning I wasn't angry. I was surgical. Focused. Cold. I didn't want to fight. I wanted clarity. So I waited until Sunday. She was coming over to check on me. As she put it in her latest text. I made coffee. Cleaned the kitchen. Wore the necklace I found in his car like a loaded gun on my chest. She walked in like nothing was wrong. Same soft smile, same airy voice. "How are you feeling today?" I poured coffee without answering. "I found your necklace." Her face didn't change. She tilted her head. "What necklace?" I reached into the drawer behind me and dropped it on the table. She froze. Just for a second. Barely enough to notice unless you were looking for it. "I lost that weeks ago," she said. "In his car." Silence. The moment stretched between us like a wire about to snap. "I borrowed his car, remember?" she added too quickly. "You said I could." "He drove me to the beach," I said, looking her straight in the eye. That did it. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I slid my phone across the table. Screen unlocked. Folder open. "Let me guess," I said. "These are just coincidences, too?" She stared down at the images. Her face drained of color. And then quietly, too quietly, she whispered, "You weren't supposed to see those." I stood up, but my hands didn't shake. "You're my sister." "I didn't plan it," she said. "It just happened. We were talking, you were always so tired, always so sad." "I didn't mean to." "Stop." I didn't need the excuses. "What about me?" I said. "While I was losing a child, you were building a new life with him. On my timeline." Tears welled in her eyes, but they didn't fall. "I thought you'd hate me." I laughed bitter. "I hate you now." And then as she picked up her coat, she said it. Almost like a whisper. "We didn't plan it. But now we're free." I didn't cry after she left. I sat at the table, coffee gone cold, phone still open to the folder. Her face smiled back at me from the screen, over and over like she wasn't just my sister, but a stranger who had borrowed her shape. I didn't scream. I didn't break things. I just sat in the silence. And then I got up and started printing. Every photo. Every screenshot. Every text message he thought was deleted. Every timestamp. Every location tag from the beach trip they tried to erase. I wasn't just going to confront them, I was going to document them. Because when pain turns to clarity, you stop looking for apologies and start building armor. I put everything into a folder marked July Truth and locked it with a passcode. But I made copies. One in the cloud. One in an encrypted drive. One sent to my lawyer. Yes, my lawyer. See, what they didn't know is that I had already spoken to one 2 weeks ago. When I saw the way he looked at her in the hospital hallway, my gut had screamed back then. I just wasn't ready to listen. I was now. Infidelity with a family member complicates the division, my lawyer had said. If you can show emotional distress and betrayal, especially while you were medically vulnerable. I nodded. I didn't need more words. Now I had everything. That Sunday, I invited my parents to dinner. Small gathering. Just family. She came too, of course. Walked in like nothing happened, wearing a dress I had loaned her months ago. I almost laughed. Halfway through dessert, I stood up, tapped my glass. I want to share something, I said. Since we're all here. The room quieted. I pulled a small envelope from my purse and slid it across the table. Photos, I said. Memories. From July. My father opened it. My mother gasped. She stared at me, eyes wide. What is this? It's the truth, I said. And in that moment, my sister's world cracked. She reached across the table to grab the envelope, but my dad held it tight. My mother's hand covered her mouth. My husband stood up. Let's talk in private. No, I said louder than I meant to. No more private. This was never just mine. The room fell silent. Even the sound of forks on plates stopped. My sister stood trembling. Why would you do this? In front of them. And I said calm, cold, clear. Because now we're free. He moved out 2 days later. No fight. No yelling. Just quiet packing, like the ending had already begun months ago and we were both too numb to notice. He didn't say goodbye. I didn't ask for one. My sister stopped calling. She didn't show up at my parents' house that week. My mother said she was ashamed. My father didn't say anything. He just looked tired, like the air around him had grown heavier. And me? I started walking in the mornings. At first it felt strange, like I was still walking around the ruins of a house that hadn't burned down. But the air felt different. Quieter. Honest. One morning I saw a little girl riding her bike down my street, wobbling, laughing, falling. Her mother ran to pick her up, brushing dirt off her knees. And for some reason I smiled. I hadn't smiled in weeks. I went home that day and made tea, cleaned the kitchen, opened the curtains. I even played music again. Not sad songs. Not angry songs. Just music. I called my lawyer, finalized the filing, sent him the folder, told him to keep everything documented. No dramatic confrontation. No public destruction. Just facts. And then I sat down with a pen and a blank notebook. I didn't write about them. I wrote about me. The version of me who trusted too easily. The version who thought silence meant safety. The one who ignored the instinct in her gut because family comes first. And finally, the version who chose to walk away, not with vengeance but with clarity. I didn't want to win. I just wanted peace. Months passed. My parents started inviting me over again. Quiet dinners. No explanations. Just presence. They never said they were sorry. But they started saving me the first slice of dessert again like they used to when we were kids. That was enough. One night after dinner, my mom handed me an old photo. It was me and my sister. On the porch. Barefoot. Smiling. She loved you, you know, she said. I looked at the photo, then handed it back. I loved her too, I said. But sometimes, love isn't the same on both sides. That night, I wrote the last line in my notebook. Now I'm free. If you've made it this far, thank you. Not everyone understands what betrayal really feels like. But if you do, you're not alone. And you're allowed to start over. When you're ready, hit like or subscribe. I'll be here with more stories that remind us how strong we really are.